Hello, let's discuss Challenges for Space Exploration, the article you read on Thursday, February 11th. This is an article that is considered an argumentative text. Its purpose is to persuade the reader. In most argumentative texts, the author presents a claim, their viewpoint or their position on an issue, and then supports it with reasons or evidence. In this article, it's a little different. The reader must infer what is the author's claim based on her presentation of information and through the rhetoric or the language that she uses to persuade the audience. Word choice is a very important part of argumentative text or persuasion. Through the author's word choice, we get an idea of their tone or their attitude toward the subject, in this case, toward the challenges of space exploration. We also are able to get to know the author through their use of language that conveys their voice, okay? How we can hear, or the author's personality that is put into their work. In the selection, in paragraph 9, an example is the author's words, "It's a huge, dangerous, maybe impossible project, but that's never stopped humans from trying anyway." This is a great indicator of the author's tone or attitude toward these challenges of space exploration. That even though it is a very difficult task or project, that she feels that humans are up to the challenge, okay? And that it is something that can be accomplished. In paragraph 5, it says, "One good meteor strike and we all join the non-avian dinosaurs. And have you noticed the weather lately?" The non-avian dinosaurs are those that weren't able to fly, that were destroyed in the meteor. In this example, the author shows a bit of personality with this sort of joking, almost sarcastic statement, and this question about "have you noticed the weather lately?" which is sort of ironic, given that we're out of school today because of some very, very extreme weather. So we'll be on the lookout for tone and voice as we read this passage, because there are other examples also. A rhetorical device to pay attention to throughout this passage is the author's use of repetition. Repetition uses the same word or phrase, sometimes even a clause or sentence, more than once, and their aim is to emphasize what is being said. It's a rhetorical device, so it's a way of using language, and they emphasize their key ideas, they convey tone through a rhetorical device, and sometimes they're trying to encourage an emotional response in their reader. In this one, you will see several examples of repetition being used in the article. There is some critical vocabulary to pay attention to. It's underlined, but because we aren't reading the article within our HMH textbook online, you cannot just click on the word and get a definition. So I've defined these words here, and let's talk about them briefly. We have the word infinitely, which is an adverb meaning to an indefinite amount, or it is without limits, or you might say limitless. To entail, which is a verb, so it is a doing word, which means to involve something as necessary to be included. Crucial is an adjective, a describing word, meaning that something is critical to the success or failure of something. And habitat is a noun, a word meaning the natural home or environment of a living organism. Now, the author, Ann Leckie, is an award-winning science fiction author. I looked her up on Google, and her books seem to be more perhaps adult versus young adult, but you might be interested in checking her out. She's published a lot of short stories in addition, and she has a series of science fiction novels that are part of the Imperial Rack series, and Ancillary Justice was one of those. It was very critically acclaimed. The selection you are about to read, however, is a persuasive nonfiction. It is an argument, and it is an introduction to a piece that she did for Wired magazine that explains the problems that humans face when they leave the relative safety of Earth. So we have to kind of keep that in mind, okay? That as we read, that this is only a part of a small group of articles or a longer article that she did. They were probably released one at a time. And this was probably the introduction to those articles. As you read, remember that this selection is an introduction to a longer piece filled with specific challenges. Think about what Leckie says here about the challenges of space exploration in general and how she feels about facing those challenges. Thousands of years ago, when our ancestors came to the sea, they built boats and sailed tremendous distances to islands that they could not have known were there. Why? Probably for the same reason that we look up at the moon and stars and say, "What's up there? Could we go there? Maybe we could go there." Because it's something that human beings do. Space is, of course, infinitely more hostile to human life than the surface of the sea. Escaping Earth's gravity entails a good deal more work and expense than shoving off from the shore. But those boats were the cutting-edge technology of their time. Voyagers carefully planned their expensive, dangerous journeys, and many of them died trying to find out what was beyond the horizon. So why keep doing it? I could tell you about spin-off technologies, ranging from small products of convenience to discoveries that might feed millions, or prevent deadly accidents, or save the lives of the sick and injured. I could tell you that we shouldn't keep all of our eggs in this increasingly fragile basket, the Earth. One good meteor strike and we all join the non-avian dinosaurs. And have you noticed the weather lately? This is a good place to stop and talk for just a second. The author uses this idiom about keeping all of our eggs in an increasingly fragile basket. She's referring to Earth. But to keep all of your eggs in one basket is an idiom. If someone puts their eggs all in one basket, then that means that they put their effort or their resources into doing just one thing. So if that one thing fails, then they don't have any alternatives. It's usually not a good idea to put all of your eggs in one basket. And this is the phrase also where she talks about the non-avian dinosaurs. And notice how it comes off a teeny bit sarcastic. She's being a little humorous here in a kind of twisted way, you might say. I could tell you that it might be good for us to unite behind a project that doesn't involve killing one another, that does involve understanding our home planet and the ways we survive on it, and what things are crucial to our continuing to survive on it. Notice there's a little bit more of that humor about uniting behind a project that doesn't involve us killing one another. I could tell you that moving farther out into the solar system might be a good plan, if humanity is lucky enough to survive the next 5.5 billion years and the sun expands enough to fry the earth. Okay, again, a lot of her voice is coming through. I could tell you all those things, all the reasons that we should find some way to live away from this planet, to build space stations and moon bases and cities on Mars and habitats on the moons of Jupiter. All the reasons we should, if we manage that, look out at the stars beyond our sun and say, could we go there? Maybe we could go there. This is a line of repetition from paragraph 2. It's a huge, dangerous, maybe impossible project, but that's never stopped humans from trying anyway. Humanity was born on Earth. Are we going to stay here? I suspect, I hope the answer is no. And I highlight that because in this article, the format is a little different. The author does not establish her claim up front. As readers, we infer what she's implying throughout the article, that she believes that we should continue to explore away from Earth. And we do not really draw that conclusion or make that inference until the very end of the article. Although we have a lot of evidence throughout the article of what is her opinion. In this article, because it is an introduction to a longer piece, okay, she provides us with a lot of reasons for why she feels a particular way. All of the I could tell you statements are sort of crouched as her reasons, but she doesn't give us the evidence. I suspect that will come in the latter articles that we are not going to be reading. And then we make our claim at the end. So it's a little bit of an opposite format, and where the reasons are presented first and then the claim is established throughout the article, and you kind of make that final conclusion at the very end. We're going to talk about some of the rhetorical devices that were used throughout the article. We saw repetition used frequently, not only in the paragraph that I pointed out right here that says in paragraph 8, could we go there? Maybe we could go there. Okay, she repeats this from paragraph 2, so that is an example of repetition. And also throughout the passage, she uses this beginning phrase, I could tell you, at the beginning of each paragraph. It sort of emphasizes the idea that this is her opinion and that she does have more to share with us, probably because she wants us to continue to read these articles and to just see some of the ideas that she may be talking about throughout that. I'm going to ask you to stop this video and go over to the one that is a review of rhetorical devices. You're going to enjoy that. Answer your check your understanding questions if you scored less than a 100 on Thursday when reading this article on your own.